Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chelsea, the antiquarian clothier, and on today's video we're going to be tackling the infamous dress, the chemise à la Reine. Why was this dress infamous? You're probably wondering if you've never heard of this dress. So this was the dress that Marie Antoinette basically helped create along with her dressmaker, and it was a very unpopular design among lower class people. She even had her portrait done in it. That was going to be in the Louvre for the year. This was sort of a place where middle class, lower class people would go to get a sense that they were meeting the royal family. And needless to say, it was very shocking. A lot of people said it looked like she was wearing her undergarments. It was disgusting behavior. In the end, she had to get the painting redone in a more appropriate dress for the times, but she still wore her chemise à la Reine whenever she went off and away from the palace or to her. She had like this summer house that she used to hang out in. It's a lot to get into, and I don't want to bore you guys too much with the history of the chemise à la Reine right now here in the intro. It was, though, however, incredibly popular among upper class women. It was a very lightweight dress, a really nice dress probably for the summertime when it was warmer, and you see a ton of portraits of noble women all around the world wearing these dresses. So obviously it was popular to upper class women who didn't always want to wear all those heavy silks. And I'm really excited to actually get to try to make my own based off of a pattern that's based off of one of the two only surviving ones that are around today. Yeah, it's sad. There's literally only two left in the whole entire world. Now probably this is because this was a really fine, specially made fabric that doesn't even exist anymore. It literally, I think, like the plant it was made from is extinct or almost extinct. As if you really do want to see a more in-depth look at the chemise à la Reine and all of the historical facts that go into it, you should really check out a TV show called A Stitch in Time, and they have a whole episode just dedicated to the chemise à la Reine, and they really get more into the history of it and the backstory and even a bit into Marie Antoinette. It's an absolutely amazing show, and I highly recommend it for anyone who is interested in historical fashion. It's just so awesome, and they of course recreate the costumes that they are looking at from the paintings as well. I do have a bit of help, so I'm using the Cut of Women's Clothing by Nora Waugh. I hope I'm saying her last name right. And very luckily, this is a great book. I know it's a little expensive, but I really like it. It goes from 1600 to 1930. So obviously right around the time that the chemise à la Reine was in fashion. Now the chemise à la Reine, I think, came out in the 1780s. I'm not really sure. It was definitely the late 1700s though. And here's the pattern here. Now, from the picture, what I can tell is the pattern was taken from this garment here, which is, like I said, one of only two surviving chemise à la Reines still in the world, which is really sad. But it kind of gives us an idea, at least, of what they look like. Obviously, they were very lightweight fabrics, and very sadly, obviously, I cannot get a hold of said fabric. Now, I wanted to try and create mine to look more like this painting here, which it looks like is very interesting. It still looks like it's lightweight, but you can tell from the details in the painting that she has like these stripes in the dress, and it almost even looks like the stripes themselves might be like silk. I'm not sure. I'm not like an aficionado at breaking down paintings, obviously. I just sew stuff halfway decently. So for the recreation of this dress, I've gone and gotten this fabric. I actually bought this a long time ago because this has been a project I wanted to do for like a year. So very sadly, the place I bought it from is no longer around, which is fabric.com. And I think we all need to just take a moment, shed a tear, sit in silence for the lost website that was fabric.com. So, yes, this is an unusual fabric. This is 100% cotton voile with a jacquard stripe, which I think will work perfectly, at least for the dress that I want to recreate. And I'm really glad I was able to get this. Now, I do think I went a little crazy and might have gotten a little bit too much yardage. I don't know why. Apparently I got 11 yards of this. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it was, I don't know. I really don't know why I got so much of this fabric. I do know, looking at it, it is a really, really big pattern. So yeah, we'll look more at the fabric in a minute when we get it on the floor and start working. I think that's really all that I have to say in this intro today, so let's go jump over and make, or begin making, the chemise à la Reine. Okay, don't freak out everyone, I've written my numbers on here. This is my book though, so, and it's in pencil. If I really want to erase it, I can. So this line, the center front line, is 52 inches. This whole line here is 73, which means the top is 73 as well, but I've marked all of their points, A, B, C, D. A is 32. Let's see if I can zoom in better. A is 32, B 35, C 43, D 50. And then I've also gone ahead and marked on this side, the center back, because obviously it'll be shorter over here in the front, where the casing should be. This is kind of gonna be iffy though, because it'll depend how it sits on me, but whatever. So 4.5 inches, 9 inches, and then the total length of the center back is 56. Now the center back is on the fold, because as you can kind of see from the pictures, these lace up in the front. So yes, that's kind of the inches I'll be going off of. Now let's take a look at the fabric, which I've just unwrapped for the very first time ever. And it is so perfect. It is so beautiful. I think it's gonna really look very similar to the one I wanna really recreate. So very, very happy with it. So this is point A and this is point B. Obviously they're about an inch above where our original point is for the center front, because it slowly goes up like this. And then this is our underarm right here, which is about 1/2 inch beneath that original line. So it's about 1.5 inches lower than the top. And then it'll all curve up to over here, which is point C. And that's why I've obviously cut the pattern in half for the math and what my fabric can handle. So now I'm actually going to start connecting all these lines, all these X's together at the top and the bottom. So pretty, Alright, I've cut the two dress panels. I'm already like exhausted. My knees are killing me. My back hurts. I'm determined to get it all drafted though today. Like I am determined. So I think though I'm going to go ahead and set up my table, my usual cutting table type situation, so that I can be standing and essentially not kill myself crouching around on the ground like some hobgoblin. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the table and hopefully be a little more informative about what I'm actually doing. So let's go and start cutting, drafting the rest of the pieces. Yay! Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and use some of my remnants of my patterning paper because wow, that ate up like so much of it. I need to order now some more, but so there's some small pieces here. I don't know, can you guys see that? Sorry for the jerky camera. So we got this, which looks like that's the strap, which is very classic to the time period, the way they did that. And then I've got this really weird tiny piece here. I have no idea what this is supposed to be. I don't even know if I'm going to draft it. I think it's just a measurement as to how small this part should get. I don't know. So yeah, and then after that it's just drafting the sleeve, which I may have to alter slightly because I need to, I don't know if this is the like right sleeve style for what I want to do. So yeah. So the sleeve is essentially 26 inches wide. On the insides, where your seam is, your underarm seam is 13 long, and then the peak is 17 long right in the middle. So I've gone ahead and marked out all my important parts, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw my lines. I'm going to stick with the pattern in the book because I double checked. It's pretty similar to what mine has. I'm just going to be not doing where they have their drawstring. So I'm gonna have to remove a cat, and I'll get to do this. Do you have to do that right on camera? Okay, so essentially I got all the pieces drafted and cut out. I am losing sunlight for today, so I think I'm gonna call it good, and I'll see you guys tomorrow and we'll actually cut out the fabric. I'm sure many of my cats will see you too. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright everyone, it's day 2. I'm getting started a little late today because I had a lot of stuff to do. So my goal is to get everything cut out and hopefully maybe start on construction. We may have to go more into the evening to get that done. This is when I'm starting to feel a little intimidated by the project, because it's feeling like it's just I'm just starting to get nervous because, like I said, the instructions aren't like fantastic. So one step at a time, right? So let's just go ahead and start cutting out the fabric now, and go from there. So before we can get into the actual construction steps, the first step is to attach our two dress pieces together, which were supposed to be a solid piece, but for obvious reasons I had to turn them into, you know, two pattern pieces, giving us three dress pieces: our center, our back, and then our two side fronts. So I'm going to go ahead and sew up where they should have connected, and then we'll actually get into the construction part. Center front. Oh my god, this is so much fabric. Okay, so now it's on to the official, actual instructions, because I say that very loosely because the instructions are so brief. So I'm going to go over the instructions with you guys really quickly and then actually try and follow along with them on the camera and kind of go my own way, I guess. So for the chemise dress, a robe in the style of the chemise de la Reine, made of white muslin with a very small woven lozenge design. I don't know what that design is. The sleeves are of plain white muslin. The dotted lines indicate where slots are stitched and through which narrow white cords are threaded. Well, we know about that. I may or may not use those lines. I know that someone else mentioned theirs ended up being too low down on their body, but we'll see. I'll mark them anyway. Of course, and then it goes, these tie in the front, which is open. There's a narrow cotton fringe decorating the side fronts and the hem of the skirt. The bodice at the neck is gathered into a binding. And that's it for the instructions. So now we're left with the difficult part. Of figuring out what to do next. And this is why I was really getting a little nervous about the construction part of everything. I think while we have it flat, we should go ahead and sew in our tape, our channels for our drawstrings to go through. So I think that would be a good first step while everything's flat, because I think after that it'll be gathering up the back of the dress. So there's only two channels that we need to make, which is the one that's supposed to hit right under the bust and then the one that's supposed to hit at the smallest part of the waistline. The one that creates this drawstring channel here, I'm actually gonna like fold over. Sorry, that probably messed up my mic. I'm going to just fold it over to create the channel later for us to use, because that way I'll have a nice smooth edge. So yeah, I guess let's just get started on it and, you know, fingers crossed, let's hope for the best. So what I'm gonna do is I'm starting from my underarm, and instead of just going off of the measurements just in case, I just went and measured from my underarm to my smallest place a smallest place on my waist, which ends up being exactly what the book actually said, which is about 9 inches. And now I'm going to just do a straight line all the way across. Now, the reason I'm deciding to forego the one that goes under my bust is because the portrait I'm mimicking doesn't have that line. So I may be making a huge mistake. I don't know. We'll see. So now that took me 100 years, this is my back from D point to D point, and I've gone and gathered it pretty as tight as I can, but I actually need it to fit in this twill tape, which is the same thing, by the way, that I use to make my channel, because I'm copping out and only doing one. So this is 10 inches, so I gave myself, I think, like 10.5 inches, and I'm going to gather it to fit it, and then like literally just encase it in my twill tape. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Mostly because I have to go and think now about what the next steps are going to be that we need to take. But that turned out really pretty good. I think I used a little too thin of a twill tape up here for the back from D to D point. But here's the back gathered, and honestly, for the most part, it really looks pretty nice and tidy, so I'm okay with that. It was just a little tedious and well, very time consuming, but I need to go figure out what the next steps logically to take should be. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get her all finished by then. Hopefully. Hello, and it is day 3, and my lighting is not super great. In a half-baked attempt to get more lighting in the room, I have opened up my blinds, which is unusual because usually the sun is blaring through this side of the house, but it's been really overcast the last few days. And yes, I have a confession. I have not touched this project for a little over a week. Which is because, due to bad weather, the event that I was making this dress for got rescheduled, which gave me more time. And then the very next week, though, I had another event that I wanted to make a different type of dress for because I knew it was still going to be a little chilly, so I wanted something longer sleeves, so I made a bustle gown instead. But obviously that meant I had to put this aside and quickly crunch another dress. So here we are. I'm back at it. I did do some stuff off camera. Did I film it? I don't know. If I did, it's going to be here in tiny mode. It's really unimportant. Basically, I decided I did need to have on the dress both channels for lacing it up, because I started thinking and realized it's better to have both and not use it than not have it and then have to go back through while it's fully formed. Trying to do that, it just seemed smarter to do it. And logically, the way nature and gravity and physics work, I will need to have 3 areas where it laces up. So, I also, this is what I filmed. That's right. So I also made a mistake, which happens when you have no real instructions, which is essentially, I did not do a hem along the front. So I had to pick the seam of my original channel that I did so that I could do a rolled hem on the edge so that it wouldn't fray everywhere. Not that this fabric is super horrible at fraying or anything, but it does fray and it needed to be done. So that's the only real mistake I made, was that I should have done that, like, boom, right away. That should have been the first thing I did. I have not hemmed the bottom of the dress yet. We'll do that last because I don't see there being another issue like this, so I think we're okay. Which means we're on to the sleeves now, and I must admit, I think earlier I talked about that I didn't want to do the sleeves like they did in the book with the 2 puffs, but I think I will go ahead and do that. The only thing I am going to add is I'm going to be doing a nice gathered flounce at the end of the sleeve, because I just think that's really girly and pretty, and I want that. That's it. That's all I have to say, I promise. So let's go and move on to the sleeves. Sorry in advance if the lighting isn't super great on this day's working. So let's do it. Okay, I won't lie with you guys. Took me a hot second to figure out that what side was the top, but essentially the curved part of the pattern up here is the top, which makes sense. I don't know why I was like, I don't get it. So here I've done my dashed lines. I cannot talk today. It's Sunday, man. I'm tired. So I'm just gonna be a little lazy and just kind of mark the edges. Use my straight ruler and yeah, just pretty much draw a line. Yay! Okay, so I hope you guys can see this. This is what I did. I sewed up the underarm seam, and then I attached the bias tape so it's just a solid piece. I did, of course, cut it with pinking shears at the end. That would be at the top. Oh, that's not in focus. Come on. So now I have an access point. The next strip of tape will go right at the edge, but I have to keep in mind that I need it not to be right at the edge. Like, I have to have some room to when I sew my little flounce to the bottom, so I have to keep that in mind while I'm pinning. For the flounce, I'm not doing anything special. It's literally just use the width of my fabric and cut a big old rectangle out that's roughly 7 inches wide. So I'm gonna hem it and then gather it. So I went and gathered the sleeve as they show in the book doing, like to my understanding, that's what that means. is to gather the whole top side. So we're gonna put the sleeves, I think, to the side now, because this is where I think the hardest part comes in, which is doing the straps, because to my knowledge, I have not seen anyone do a chemise à la reine like this, but it makes sense because this is how you do most 1700s dresses, is with the strap being its own separate piece, which is what this little piece here is. And the curved part is down here. This is supposed to touch to A and B, which is my front side. And then we'll attach that to the back. Now, I think the best way to go about this would be to attach my strap to the front first, and then attach my sleeve to the whole underarm. Or maybe I should do that backwards. That's going to be hard figuring out which way to do it. I think I'm going to go do some research and see what people did on just like robe a la anglaise and see which way it should go. And I'll let you guys know when I get back. But that's basically the next step. Okay, so I think I'm going to opt, because I don't know, I guess a lot of people kind of do it differently. I don't know, man. But I'm gonna opt for actually sewing in my armhole first, which if you look at the pattern, the armhole actually sits a little closer to the front. So let me get my pattern real quick and draw. Okay, so yeah, I took up my pattern and I went ahead and actually marked A, B, and then where it says the underarm center is supposed to be, which is unusual that it is off center. But I assume they have that for a reason, that little illustration. Now if this turns out absolutely horrible, we will try it the other way. So I'm going to go ahead and put my center here, and I'm literally only going to do up to that B point because we need to leave that free for my strap. So yes, like I said, I'm just experimenting, so we'll just do one sleeve and see how that goes. Similarly, I need to leave this free to the strap on the back as well. So yeah. All right, I guess let's go ahead and sew this on, and then we'll go to the strap. Okay, so I went ahead and sewed it, and just to tidy it up, I cut it with pinking shears. Now I'm going to do my strap, which, as I said, so the curve, oops. Okay, so this is supposed to cut, so this is, oh my gosh, okay. This needs to connect to the A part, this needs to connect to B. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that. And as I go ahead and do that, I'm going to tell you guys the reason I'm deciding to set the sleeve this way is because I do not have a helper, and the other common way I see to set sleeves is very cool, but you do seem to need a helper, and this way I can kind of do it on myself, kind of do it on the dress form. So now I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this in place. Okay, for the record, this looks really silly, but all I'm doing is I pinned, I don't know if you guys can see, I pinned the back, ow, it pokes! I pinned the back to make sure that this strap part is on me comfortably, and then what I'm going to do is, since this is just gathered, I'm just going to make sure that the strap is nice, which it seems to be. And I'm going to do this, sew up the strap in the back, and then we'll go along and just go ahead and attach the sleeve as such to the strap. That's about the best I can do fitting wise on myself. Alright, in a very half-baked attempt to try and pretend I know what I'm doing, I've put her up here on my dress form. And now I guess I'm just supposed to go along and basically pin the sleeve to the rest of this. now I'm going to be doing a rolled hem just on the top of the sleeve strap, so it'll be like that. After that, we need to make our final channel along the front, and instead of using twill tape just to keep it a little lighter, since this will be the part you can see, I'm thinking about like doing a hem, a tiny hem, and then I think this is probably what you're even supposed to do. Then just make the casing like this by rolling, you know, by folding it over in the front here, so that you have the casing just built into the dress, which will look better. And I'm pretty sure that's what you're supposed to do, because looking at it on the dress form, it's actually hitting what looks like a little high on me for this style anyway. So like once it basically loses, it'll lose about an inch once I do my hem and then roll it to the thing, and that'll actually take quite a bit off. So that's my next steps. Then it's just hemming the bottom of the dress, which is awesome. That means we are so close to having her finished. So that's what I'm gonna do. She is done, and whoa, is it hot. So now it is time to talk about the pros and the cons of this outfit. As far as the pattern goes, I am actually pretty happy with it. The one thing I'm not happy with, and I do find this to be a problem with all the historical recreation patterns that I do, whether they're 18th or 19th century, because I run into this problem a lot with Victorian as well, is the underarm. It can feel a little tight, though now that I'm wearing it more, I guess it's not tight actually. Yeah, it kind of is. I would like, yeah, because see, here it is right here, that's like right in my underarm. I don't notice it too much because my stays are right there too, so it's like, and it's not horrible. But for my personal reasons, I think I might actually like cut about a ½ inch, even maybe an inch deeper of an armpit. Other than that, I don't really particularly find anything wrong with the pattern. I think the dress turned out very lovely. I do kind of wish I had gone with my original instinct. As you can see, I did that middle line. You can probably see, unfortunately, it through the dress a bit. And I didn't use it. I didn't really feel the need to use it. I was perfectly fine with the top, and then down here, lower down in the bottom, which is like at the waist, because I'm wearing the sash, which is also helping it. And when I did this, it looked weird because it's like right there across my mid boob line, and it just looked a bit funny. So I actually think it looks better with just the top and the waist. That's just my personal preference. Of course, that is something totally up to you. Now let's talk about, though, some of the wearing cons. This has to be the hardest dress I've ever made to get on and wear by myself. All my other stuff I've ever made, you can do it yourself. Maybe it's gonna be a little hard, but for the most part, you can put it on yourself. This was a job. There's so much tying, and oh, it's just, and then I had a snafu, which you can probably tell, like this Like, honestly, I can't even do a nice job of tying my sleeves anyway for the puffs. But this side's totally blown out because as I tried to tie it, I accidentally grabbed the wrong ribbon from the upper one, and I pulled out the ribbon from its casing. So I pulled it completely out and was just like, whatever. So excuse my lopsided sleeves. Like I said, this has got to be one of the hardest dresses to wear ever. My other con with it is I'm sure you guys can sort of tell. You can see my shift and stays. Like, it's really hard hiding my shift and stays under the dress. And I'm like a little irritated with that because I guess maybe historically, because like I said, it's very hard to find out anything about how these dresses were worn. So maybe they wore the stays that didn't have the straps, which obviously would solve a lot of problems. I guess in the future I'm going to just be a bad person and probably wear my strapless corset for my Victorian stuff. I know it's not the right silhouette, but it will get the job done. It also doesn't help that my stays are blue. So you can kind of see it through the fabric. If they were white, it would be better, which my Victorian corset is white. So, whoops. I didn't really find it being too low cut. I know some people said that was a concern for me, that it's perfect depth there. I don't really feel like a marshmallow because when I tied it, first off, the back sections are pretty much stuck because of what we did at the top. It's kind of stuck all of the gathering, so it's not going to go around. And then you just pull everything to the front to make the sides smooth. And again, you're wearing the sash, which is also going to nip you in. So hey, I don't really see a problem with that. The biggest problem was the sleeves, for sure, because you're supposed to tie them on yourself while you're wearing them, and they're supposed to be tight to help you get the puffiness. And if you are not concerned about being super historically accurate, I'd almost just recommend doing elastic in your sleeves to like save yourself a headache, because if you're wearing it by yourself, it's next to impossible. And I did not have a helper, and that was some of the reason this reveal took so long to film, because I couldn't get anyone to help me. But hey, it's done, and we have our video done. I don't think I look too bad in it. I feel pretty. I mean, I'm not the skinniest girl in the world, but I feel like the sash really helps you kind of pull in, and the gatherings more make you look bustier than anything. Though now that I'm sitting, I feel like a bit of a dumpling. But yes, overall, it's lightweight, but it's also not lightweight. It is a lot of fabric. But of course, maybe for the times, it was a lightweight dress compared to other dresses. I don't particularly find silk to be that heavy of a fabric. I know other people would disagree, but I'm happy with it. I am happy with how this has turned out, and considering that I was going off of a pattern I had to scale up myself, that I had to figure out all the instructions myself, I think I've done a really good job, and I'm happy in that aspect. I do want to eventually have some time and maybe add a nice ruffle trim to the top, because I think that would hopefully make it even a bit more feminine, but even then, it's not a necessity. I think it looks quite pretty like this. I'm gonna have to find something different to wear, as I said, underneath, because that's not super looking good. But other than that, as far as scaling this project out of difficulty, I'm not going to lie. This was quite challenging. I'd give it an 8 out of a 10. If you're one of those people that likes to understand difficulties. And yes, I know I did not do my hair in the historical way for the reveal. cut me some slack, man. I was sweating after just trying to put this on by myself. I did not want to do my hair as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. Our next video is not going to be a historical video. It's actually going to be a cosplay themed video. But I hope you guys will stick around to see what's next. Until then...